President Trump is renewing his attacks today on both the press and his critics. This morning, the president made his case for using social media to bring his message directly to the American people, tweeting, "Only the fake news media and Trump enemies want me to stop using social media, 110 million people. Only way for me to get the truth out. This is the mainstream media sure seems to be proving Mr. Trump right." Behold, CNN political analyst David Gregory's analysis of the White House.
I just think it's been a joke, the behavior within the White House. I mean, the lie from the president that as a business leader, he was going to come in and run a great organization like his own organization, and then he has this nonsense. I mean, Scaramucci acting like this is seventh grade homeroom instead of the West Wing and the presidency. I mean, it was really a joke.
And listen to MSNBC's Chris Matthews take a swipe at the president.
Faced with a full-scale investigation by the House, the Senate, and a special counsel over collusion with Russia during the 2016 election, President Trump has engaged in a series of Russian-style purges. I think all this going around and purging people, just like Kim Jong-un, what does he do? He knocks off all his relatives when he gets scared. When you get scared of your position, you start killing people around you. We don't do that in this country. We fire them. Trump seems to know how to fire.
Oh, my goodness, that was a little crazy. All right, Greg, what do you think?
Kim
Jong-un, I mean, I like the first name.
I mean, it's understandable coming from them. It's not a surprise. But you're seeing the two lanes. You're seeing the media lane, and you're seeing the everybody else lane. The media is chasing rabbits. The rest of America is interested in the whales. So the rabbits are rumors and conversations and maybe some meetings and some staffing changes. Those are the rabbits that everybody chases, and we chase them too. But America is interested in the whales, and the whales are the economy, and security, and terror. So it's really action. What I always frame, I had to frame it after the election as it's action versus words. They are preoccupied, the media is preoccupied with his words. America is preoccupied with his deeds. And if you have problems with Trump's character or his jokes or the way he acts, concentrate on what he does. And so there are four things that I look at that make me feel like things are going well. ISIS, it's not entirely gone, but it's getting there. He's rolled back a ton of regulations. He withdrew from the Paris Accords. Moab, that symbolic bomb, meant something. It meant something. And then he's confirmed, I think, 5 judges so far. So those are 5 whales that Trump has harpooned, while the rest of the media just blubbers.
Okay, we got it.
Thank you very much, America.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Weighty delivery. Okay, Dana, so is this a fair criticism?
Well, I think, first of all, I just think that the whining about media bias is getting in their way of them actually being able to get credit for the things that Greg just mentioned. Because every day we wake up and we have to talk about more stories about the fake news media and everything, except for when they actually confirm the stories that were in the fake news the night before that's confirmed in the briefing, 12 hours later. And actually, I think that reporters, the media, his enemies want nothing more than for him to keep tweeting. Because it gives them all that ammunition. It's actually, if you look at some of the polling, it's like supporters of his that are like, whoa, sir, we don't know if this is actually helping you so much. And the president also, he wants to be taken for his words and his actions. So when, I don't know, I can kind of separate it because I can sort of see, like, I think some of this is bluster. For example, tonight other media is covering a story that is reportedly the president told some friends at a golf club that the White House is a real dump. Okay, so they're running with this story. Now, I could just imagine that the president would be joking when he said that, like, oh, yeah, it's a real dump. Well, really hard to live at the White House.
Being facetious.
He actually, in interviews that he did, like with Time Magazine and with Maggie Haberman of the New York Times, he loves being at the White House. He thinks it's beautiful. He wants people to come and visit. He hardly ever comes back to New York. So I do think that the media has a tendency to run away with things that make the media look bad, but I also think that the president hinders his own message in trying to get those results by talking about the media all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the White House is pretty nice, right?
It's not a bad gig, and they got really good lemon cookies. No living person, no living man, woman, or child, I guess maybe outside of the people at Facebook, want Donald Trump to stop tweeting. No one wants Donald Trump to stop tweeting. Not, as you say, his adversaries who say, more, crazy, we want the crazy. But also his supporters and his administration want him to tweet. They just want him to tweet better. They want him to tweet differently than he's doing it. And no one's trying to take the social media platform away from him, but I am sure that Republicans in Congress and his staff at the White House says, okay, great, tweet all you want, but don't blow up our message for the day.
Yeah, Dana has talked about that before, because you want the messaging for the next day and something to drive it. You got to give them something to talk about, or they'll fill the void. All right, so one, a fair criticism. I mean, how did you really honestly feel about the president tweeting?
Oh, I don't think it helps him, but I'm not alone in that. I mean, you're right. I think most of the Trump voters say he should continue tweeting, but a quarter of them say no. I think it's actually more than a quarter of his own supporters, people who voted for Donald Trump, say that they think this is the wrong way for him to go. And if you ask all Americans, then you're like 70% of Americans say this is ridiculous. This is not the way to do business. And in fact, after the communication about the ban on transgender people serving the military, where the Pentagon didn't know exactly what he's doing because he did it in a series of tweets and it got broken up, then there are people who are concerned, hey, what's he doing? Is he starting a bombing run or what's going on? So, you know, the thing is, when Greg says, oh, the press is chasing rabbits and, you know, we're concerned about whales, let me tell you, the president's accomplishments are more like minnows. When you talk about ISIS, he's not gotten rid of ISIS. He has increased the military presence. When you talk about something like pulling out of the climate accord, that's a great accomplishment.
Of course it is, and people who believe in climate change even admit that the Paris Accord was a disaster because $100 trillion went to nowhere. That was a great move on his point, and he's actually probably going to go further in the area of climate change than you would.
Well, that's fine, but again, that's your position is anybody who denies climate change, pulls away, is doing good. That's not my position.
No, that is not my position. Do not say that. What I'm saying is the deal itself, from an economic perspective, was poor. He saw that it wasn't in our best interest, and he said if he could do another deal, he would.
From our environmental perspective, from melting glaciers and the like, it was a good deal.
You just made a leap that was completely false.
There
totally
you go.
Different subject. All right, let's take a listen to NBC News special correspondent Tom Brokaw talk about what he learned on a recent trip to Wyoming.
We're in Powell, Wyoming, a wonderful classic small town community college, prosperous farm community, voted 70% for Trump. So I went around and said, where are you now? 69.9, I'd say at this point. And they blame us. They say, look, you guys are all in the hands of the Democratic Party. It's a liberal cabal against this president. They don't feel any connection between what we do and how they live their lives. And they're not entirely wrong, because they look at these shows or doing analysis and commenting on the thing, and they don't see anybody who looks like them or lives the lives that they do.
Greggins.
You know why he likes Wyoming? No L's in it. The Brokaw joke. He has a problem saying L's. Anyway, if you look at
the plane with him?
If you look at the stories, like I said before, the media would go to the pyramids and stare at the sand. They don't understand the bigger stories. They look at the small stuff. And let's admit, we do too. We are talking about tweeting when we know that he's never going to stop tweeting. We did an entire segment on tweeting, and we know he's not going to stop tweeting. But we like to talk about it. All of these things that you see from the morning to the evening. The Scaramucci thing was a staff change. But everybody led with it. While we have stuff going on in Venezuela. In Venezuela, we were watching another great experiment in socialism turn into civil war. That's not on our show.
With the dictator.
It's not on our show.
It is now with the dictator.
You know, I listen to you so closely, but did you just say the Scaramucci thing was nothing but a staff change?
Yeah, to me it was. It'll be over. No, okay, you can laugh.
It's okay.
You can laugh, but you can think about this. He was here for 10 days. It was hilarious. We had a lot of fun with it, but the fact is, he came and he went. Meanwhile, you look at Venezuela. What's going on there? It's barely being covered. That means something.
I think he damaged President Trump. Let me just tell you something.
In this greater scheme of things, that is tiny compared to other things.
Not if you have chaos in the White House and you are diminishing confidence in the White House ability to perform central functions.
That is not evidence of chaos. It was an evidence of establishing order.
It's okay for people to be interested in politics. It's okay that people like to watch the show, or that I'm interested in politics. I've devoted my entire professional life to it, so I hope it's okay.
I'm sorry for that.
And we're sort of like Sports Center, right? Some people are passing fans and they just want to see the results, and that's okay. If you just want to, if you only tune in for the Super Bowl, that's okay. I have a different job. We play a different role, which is people want to know incrementally, day by day, minute by minute, what's changing, what's going on. That's a function we fill. There are political junkies out there. This is a big country, 230 or 325 million Americans. there's room for rabbits and whales.
What about the Venezuela and Greg's point? And well, there's a lot of criticism about why isn't that story getting covered? And it is, you know, a loss of life, an oppression, a dictatorship. It's really bad there.
Most of the world suffers. Most of the world lives in misery. We fail to understand very often how fortunate we are in the United States to have the system that we do and the prosperity that we do. And occasionally we are forced to look outside of our bubble and say, my God, how blessed we are.
Sure.
But we can't spend every day, all the time, looking at every place in the world where human misery reigns. But Venezuela is definitely on a rocket ride to the top of those charts.
Yeah, okay, rocket ride. Okay,
well,
Dana.
so I had an opportunity to fill in for Martha McCallum today, and we did the Venezuela story and talked to Senator Marco Rubio. And actually, you could do that. There's a direct tie because President Trump designated Maduro as one of the 4 people that had personal sanctions against him. And what happened? There was a direct retaliation from Maduro against President Trump, sending a signal by arresting 2 of the opposition leaders. And so there is a tie, and there are consequences for things that are happening in the White House. Now, did President Trump come out and give a statement about that today? Nope. Did he tweet about it? I don't think so. So, I mean, there are things that the White House could do to drive forward the message, the fact that he is taking decisive action to do things like protecting freedom and human rights in Venezuela. They didn't do that today. They talked about tax reform, and we could try to, there'll be a little bit more of that. Tomorrow they're also doing immigration. They're also talking about college administration, what is it called, affirmative action on Friday. And then we got the leak investigation, too. And this is American Dream Week.
Really?
Yes, it's American Dream. So it is
American Dream Week every week.
Impossible to keep up.
Especially here.
This is why the suggestion is that they need to have somebody in communications who is behind the scenes, not on television all the time, doing some long-term strategy to help them make sure that they get credit for the successes that they're
like a day planner, week planner, month planner.
Yeah, we would be good.
It's a good idea.
Lots of lists.
Lots of lists.
Dana, but that's politics as usual. That's just smart politics. But guess what? Guess who, just as you said, overrides the message every time? It's the principal. It's the president.